So this is Alan Wake 2. I'm continuing this. Kind of stuck on this puzzle here, but I'm gonna figure it out somehow. The thing that bugs me about this is that the people who made the puzzle for this expect you to know half moons, quarter moons, and full moons. Now, last time I checked, the average human being, I consider myself an average human being. If I was above average, I wouldn't be playing games. In fact, maybe I would, regardless. But the point is, no one knows about this stuff unless it's necessary with regards to traveling, camping. Well, traveling with regards to you're on a ship, camping, and astrology. Three things. And why I say those three things? Because those are the only times you will need to know the phases of the moon. A normal human being, to consider himself a normal human being, doesn't need to know this stuff. What does the phase full moon means? What does half moon means? What does a quarter moon means? It's only necessary to know this if it's important to know this in your life. It's more important to know how to cook your fucking food, how to do basic mathematics, how to remember not to leave your keys inside of your front door, and how to remember things based on memory, which means you have to train your mind to read, study, and do memory exercises. This could be considered a memory exercise, but the problem with anything in life is there's so much to know with regards to anything, and that the mind only keeps things that are relevant and important to you in order to push you forward, or you keep what you believe is relevant to push you forward. Everything else that are not as important gets pushed to the background. Like if you're into working out, you could care less on how you solve a scientific problem within a lab. So all that information gets pushed to the back because it's not relevant towards that thing that you're pushing towards too. And the same goes to this here. Like, unless you're supposed to know this specifically in life, then it's not important. Sure, you might have learned of it in high school or in college or hell, even in elementary school. But there's so many things you have to remember in life, and this is not one of the important things whatsoever at all. It's important to remember the dates on the calendar. It's important to remember things that you circle that are relevant and important. And it's important to remember certain specific holidays, but it's not really important to remember specific holidays just because the country that you live in gives certain specific days on a holiday. That's not relevant to your existence or to your importance. Only the things that you're doing is relevant. So anything that outside of your existence is not important unless it has a specific value to remember, and this is one of those things. So I'm stuck on this character, this person in this game has decided to circle 17 and 31. Saga says it's important for the month of August, that he has something that he or she has to do in August. So I'm assuming that the thing that they circle are what's important. Now it keeps bringing up the phases of um, of moons. So I want to understand how the phases of the moon in August is relevant towards the date circle. I don't see how they are relevant whatsoever because the day of the 17th is not the same day as the 16th. And whatever happened on the 16th did not happen on the 17th. So if it was a new moon that shines in the sky high above in the atmosphere and well in space and then projected in the atmosphere as a new moon, That has nothing to do with what happened on 17th. The moon was standard moon on the 17th and 18th and the 19th. So what does that has to do with 17 whatsoever at all? So the code would be 17 and 31, and maybe because they're within the week, maybe it's 17 minus 16 and it's 1 or something, or what it says 16 is a new moon. Is the new moon a code for something, or is it 16 the actual number? It's both 17 and 16, or is the 30th, first and the 30th, which is a full moon, is that code for something? And it's 1731 and whatever this is. So it's strange to me. Or maybe it's like tic-tac-toe. You know, all the moons are going straight here, and the numbers here are the numbers you go with, and all the numbers here, it's like tic-tac-toe. So starting from 17 going this way, and then starting from 31 going this way, well, there's nothing there. So if I start from 17, it'll be 17, 23, 29. Or if I start going this way, going in reverse order, it'll be 31, 23, and 15. But that also doesn't make any sense. So the only thing that does make sense is you have to know what the only thing that makes sense in this situation is you have to know what the phases of uh, the moon means. So the date doesn't mean jack shit. Like say the eighth, third quarter, unless the third number, unless it's this, unless this is the logical explanation. There, there are one, two, three, four, five, six numbers. So let's say the third number, the third quarter is 8. So the first quarter, if we're going with regards to moon phases, the third quarter, there's no second quarter. The game doesn't give a second quarter, so number 2 is out of the ring. So it only gives you the first, the third, and then it gives you the full and the new. Now, which space is full and which space is new? So let's look at that. So first, 1 and 30th are full. So the first week and the last week are full moons. So in the first number or the last number will be 31. So let's say 31, since there's no number circle for the first week. So the last week will be 31. So full means probably the end, and new means probably um, the fourth. Yeah, new means probably the fourth slot or the second slot. So if new means probably the fourth or the second slot. So the only thing circle for that would belong in that week of new would be the 17th. But if the 17th is placed in the second or fourth, so Seven, 17. Yeah, so 17 cannot be in the second slot because if I put 1 and 7 in the second, 7 will overlap the eighth, which is in the third. So 17 cannot be in the second. So, and if 17 goes in the fourth, 17 will overlap on 31, the last. So 17 can't go there either. So 17 has to be, yeah. So for the third and the fourth slot, it has to be a single number because if the last one is 31, then 17 has to be the first number. So it's 17, 8, and the last one is 31. So what is the fourth one? Maybe it's 4. So it's not that. So 17, 8. So the 24th is the first quarter. Okay, so first quarter. So the first set of numbers be 24, but nothing is circled for that week. Okay, or maybe it's based on alignments. Maybe it's based on alignments. First and the 30th of full. Those would be the first numbers. So within the calendar for the month of August, whatever is in the first rows and 30th rows is the first. So 31. I'm trying to understand the logic of this. So I might have to look up what quarter means because if they don't represent numbers, then they have to represent a certain meaning, for which the people who made this game are dumb as balls. If that's the case, because only fucking people who know about quarters and moons would understand this. And people who don't know about it doesn't mean they don't know about it. It means that they don't give a shit about it because it's not relevant for their life to move forward. Like if you're going to make a puzzle, it has to be something that everyone knows about and can think about. Sure, everyone knows about calendar and everyone knows about phases of the moon, but they don't know about the meaning behind the phases of the moon. So that's the problem there. It's not a common thing that anyone knows. It's something that they would have to look up in order to know. So it's not a puzzle that you could figure out. It's something that you have to have been taught to you for you to understand to know. It's not a random thing. So let's go with that. Full moon means what? Phase of the moon in which the whole disk is illuminated. No shit. does the full moon mean as a number? See, even that I understand. Full moon, the shape half moon, when they happen, but there are certain specific things that are going on here that has nothing to do with what your understanding of what a full moon is and what a half moon is. This is more like a math thing infused within the basic, I don't know, astronomy of this thing. And who would know that unless you actually study it? Full moon is not a single number, but it is associated with several numbers in different contexts, such as the number 12 in numerology for this place in 7 cycles. The number 2 is associated with the moon in numerology, presenting intuition and emotions. And the number 8 representing 8 phases of the lunar cycle. Numerology. See, this is what I'm talking about. Who would know about numerology? Who would study this and consider this to be even relevant in their lives? That they would, even after I beat this game, would I even still care about this? No, because at no point is this going to be relevant towards me, myself, and I pushing forward. This is only relevant to people who like to do puzzle games or do anything related to puzzles. Sure, you have to put on your thinking cap, but this is not the same as, unless your entire gym workout is puzzles and thinking puzzles, which means, you're not paying attention to other things that are relevant for your importance for your survival, such as your internal health, such as your bills, your there are many factors in life that has to be considered. This is one on the lower tier of those things. This is only relevant towards making you understand something to keep the brain juice going. But is it helpful? Like, knowing the perimeter of a square is more important than knowing this. Length times width, that's half base times height. Dimensions, square roots, those are more important than this. Knowing the percentage value of 50% off of an item, that's more important than this. I don't see how this is relevant in any form in life, even as a puzzle. Like, who would know the new, okay, the number 12 in numerology? Okay, full moon and specific numbers. Full moon often corresponds to number 12. Okay, so what is saying here? So August 1st and August 30th even are considered 12 cycles. Cycles of the moon. So, but what does that mean? If 12 cycles of the moon go around, what we fucking do? Like, who cares? On the first, there are like, what, 12 rotations? Okay. If it's full, if it's half, 8. So, if it's a third, like what? A little bit more than eighth? 12? Okay, so maybe that's what it's trying to say. A third quarter is basically 8 rotations. Okay. And let me see the new moon. What does new moon represent? Somebody who thought this up might think that they're smart because they thought this up as a good little brain thinker teaser stuff, but this is not a brain thinker teaser. This is basically you have to know what these things mean. This is not a thinker. I see people online talking about puzzles that it is a thinker one that you really have to think, but it really isn't. It's something that you have to know in advance before you do it. You can't think your way through something that you don't know about at all because you're just guesstimating. The new moon is not a single number but can be represented by a specific number called illumination number, which counts lunar cycles from a starting point. Lunar cycles from a starting point in astrology. The number 2 is associated with the moon's energy and is considered the number for new moons. Yuchu. Okay, so new moon is like two cycles. So new moon would represent 2 lunar cycles. So the 16th, on the 16th, on this map, 2 cycles happen. And on the third quarter, 8 cycles happen. So new moon is basically would come before the third quarter. So it's basically almost starting off. So the new moon can be considered a starting point. But first quarter, let me look up what first quarter means. So the starting point would be a new moon, not the first quarter. Wait. – 50% illuminated and 1/4 of itself through its cycle. Okay, so 1/4 of itself, 25%. So in phases, in phases. The first quarter of a moon, also called half moon, is a phase where the moon is a quarter of its way through its lunar cycle. And new moon, new moon refers to the first quarter phase. What? Date. New moon phase. New moon is first of 8 lunar phases. And the entire cycle from new moon. How many cycles? How many cycles? $12. Okay. Okay, so 12 cycles. Okay, so first quarter is 25%, which goes to about 2 cycles. New moons go through 12. Third quarter. Okay, so it goes first quarter first, third quarter second, new moon third, and full moon last. So first quarter, which is 12, and the first quarter for the 24th. Um, so, okay, so at least I know the order. So it's 24, 8, 16, and then August 30th. So it's a number within the last week. So it's 31, and third one will be 8. So the third one seems to be 8 no matter how I look at it. And or the second one has to be 8 no matter how I look at it. And the third one has to be um, 17. So it's 31, 8, 17. But there's nothing circled for the first. Full moon is so 17. This seems more like a subtraction thing rather than knowing phases, because what I just read doesn't make sense unless, like, say, first, like, third quarter is 8. So whatever is in the eighth, you have to minus that from 3. It's 8 cycles, you know, and that would be 5. But I don't think that's it. That would make sense. Otherwise, it would give a hint that you would have to do some type of subtraction, addition, or division. So it has to be 17 and it has to be 31. There's no way, unless, here's the thing, unless what circle doesn't mean shit. Like 20 is circle, 29 is circle, 31 is circle, and there's no way all these numbers can fit in there. And the only one that keeps popping up over and over again is 17. So it's trying to say 17 is a number that has to be there. But the 4th, the 20th, the 29th and the 31st aren't necessarily have to be there. So maybe it's a subtraction thing. Maybe 17 is the only constant and all others have to be subtracted from each other. 4 4 has to be subtracted from, let's try that. Try so for the month of May going into June. Let's subtract 4 from 20, and that should get me to 25. So 1725. And then for the month of July going to 31st, and subtract those two together. And that'll bring me to 11. So it'll be 25, 17, 11. But it won't make sense. They will still need another set of numbers. Yeah, so it wouldn't work. Or maybe 17, 17, 8, 11. No, but it's missing one. 17, 17, 8. 31. Still missing one. Or 17, 25, 31. 17 is the constant, that's for sure. So it has to be 17 and 4 other numbers that are also double digits. But for context sake, just to move on with this, because I could tell that this is bullshit. Like, this isn't math, because if it's math, it would work out the way I want it to. This is basically you have to know something that you don't know about at all, which is, if not astrology, basic organization of words. Now, I was thinking crossword puzzles. I was thinking, okay, um, something is important going on August. The character says it, but the moon and stuff is also associated with it. So I'm thinking about whatever he circles. 17 is also relevant for the following week thereafter, but he doesn't circle that for the 24th. So 17 and the 31st are important days. Let's say you're hunting or doing whatever. Um, but I've tried various combinations with 17 and 31, and those means nothing. So the secret lies within um, the phases of the moon. So you would have to know those things. You would have to know the cycles of the phases of the moon. And who the fuck cares about the phases of the moon? I sure don't. But like I really think I care to know how many phases or cycles are within the moon. Let's say that's not the case. Then what's the point? You know, a new moon, 16. Okay, so 16 is here. All right. Is that supposed to be the code? 16, 17? Whatever they're next to is the code. Then that means August 24th. Well, nothing's next to that in August 24th for that week, just the 24th itself. Or are they layered on top of each other? 17, 24, 31. Obviously, 1 and 30th, the full moon, means something. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here. So, that means full. And full means 12. So, maybe 12 subtracted from 31. So, I don't know. Let me do the math here. So, um, It'd be like 29. 29. But for some reason, I don't think that's it. Let me use my calculator. I guarantee that probably won't be it. Like, who would know this bullshit? Like, there's puzzles and then there's bullshit. All the other puzzles in the game are puzzles. Things that make sense. Things that make you think. This one is more of you have to know things that are not puzzle related or sight related or brain twisters or things that you can move around. It seems more like you have to know something specific, unless you won't be able to solve it. No, 19. Why am I saying 29 for? I didn't factor in the. Okay, so. Alright. So, 29, 17. You know what? I'll be here all day on this. I think it's best that I just move on. And then I'm going to look this up online and I'll find out. I'll see the reason why this is the way it is. What is the password for Wellness Center Alan Wake 2? Not only would I look up the password, I'm going to see the reasons why they are the way they are. Okay, it says here the password for the Wellness Center computer is 170823. So other than 17, I wasn't even close with regards to the other numbers. And let's see the reason why that is. The code is deviated from the European dated format for the day after the new moon in August. So what? Don't care about that. 17, the day of the month indicated in a red highlight, 17 August. Okay, so it's been highlighted several times, so 17 is correct. 8th being the month of August. Who would know that that's part of the code? That's not part of the code. That's not part of the code. That's the fucking month that they're in. That's not part of the code. Okay, the last two digits of the year. 23. Also not part of the code. That's the year, 2023. Not part of the code. How would anyone know this? I'm looking at the freaking moon cycles and the dates and stuff related to moon cycles. The game is saying no, no motherfucker. It's the month that the things are circled in, not the things that are circled in, and not the cycles of the month, not the new moon, not the quarter. None of that is relevant. You're looking at that, you're paying attention to that. Saga basically saying the game actually indicates these things, points towards these things. It actually literally says, it highlights these things. Phases of the moon. Why the fuck does it highlight these if they're not relevant? What was relevant was the month that they were in and the year. About the only thing relevant in that puzzle was 17. And I knew that from the beginning because it popped up several times in other months. 17 was something that popped up in other months. Who would have known that it was the year? A normal person, a normal common sense person would look towards, okay, it's about the phases of the moon. Oh, okay, it's about the days within the dates that it's happening. So I was right about the 17 and I was right about 8th, but not because of the month that it was in, the 8th month, was because the third phase marked 8th. So I was right about two numbers. But who would have known that is the last fucking two digits of the year, and it has nothing, nothing whatsoever to do with the puzzle. It's just the year, 2023. Now, you know how long it would take someone to figure that out? That is the last two digits of that year, or the first two digits of the year, 20 or 2023. How would they know? The whole clue had nothing to do with the fucking year. And even if the person did figure out, okay, let me put 2023 in, how would they know to cut 2023 in half and put 23 or 823? Or say, okay, fine, I'll put 1723 and then put 17,823. How would they know to do that when there's something like the 31st is circle, when there's bullshit like new moon and all this put there? This is not a common sense fucking puzzles. This is not a brain teaser thinker puzzles. This is an asinine dumbass puzzle because they literally highlighted this and put this. Oh, there's a phases here. The phases had nothing to do with the puzzle whatsoever at all. Nothing. Nothing. I'm dropping the game 2 fucking points for this. So I was already at a 7, or actually 7.4, I believe I got it up to. I'm dropping down to 7.2. This is a stupid fucking puzzle. Half of it is correct. The other half is dumb as balls. Like dumb as fuck. Like fucking stupid as retard. This, why put this in if it's not relevant towards the goddamn puzzle? Remove this completely, and then the factor of August and the year will come into play. Because then the person won't look at this and say, oh, this might be relevant, or the phases of the moon might be here. It's like, why put the phases of the moon? Oh, to trick you up. Okay, fine. Then why put this as well as the phases of the moon in picture? To double trick you up. So the whole point was to double trick you and to make you use your head and say, no, it has nothing to do with this. But here's highlighted here, here's highlighted here, here's highlighted here. Like these fucking things are relevant, but they're not relevant in the slightest. And the person's day off. Everything that was circled and put and marked as days off weren't relevant towards the puzzles. What was relevant was the month that they were in and the year. But not even the full year, the half year. This is a dumb fucking stupid shit stained puzzles. This is the type of shit that would make you not buy a game. Like half of the puzzle thing here is correct, and the other half is asinine as fuck. Because this didn't belong here. None of this belonged here. Here, here, or here. None of the phase moon bullshit belong here. And none of the things that were circled relevant towards belonged here at all. Because they had nothing to do with the coding. There were things that the person was looking towards. And the game's focus says, fuck June, fuck May, fuck July. It's what this guy had to do within the month of August that's relevant. Sure, okay, fine. What does he have to do in the month of August? 17 and 31. Sure. He has something to do in 17 and 31. Sure. And the puzzle should have started there. Okay, so what 17 and 31 is relevant? What am I seeing? What am I blind? See towards. The coding has to do with 17 and 31 somehow. That's it. And from that point on, you could figure out, okay, 17 and another number here, or 31 and another number here, or the month, or the year. But by throwing this in, this completely ruins everything, because now you're thinking about things that have nothing to do with the game. You're thinking about math, you're thinking about astrology, nothing at all. This is the type of shit that will make you get choked up and stuff. This is the type of shit that will make you want to break your fucking computer and say to yourself, well, is this really a brain thinker thing, or this is just someone asinine idea? This is the type of stuff that will make you not want to play games like this ever again. Because that's not a puzzle thing. That is not a puzzle thing. That's a stupid as fuck boy thing. That's a stupid as fuck boy thing. They're throwing stuff in here to blind you, to purposely make you put your time and place your ideas and your thoughts towards something that has nothing to do with the puzzle. So it's an intentional thing put in there to block your train of thought. And if that's the intention, to say, okay, well, you got to think beyond. If that was their intention, and you know that's their intention, you can't think about that. But if that was the case, who would know that it would be the last two digits of said year, not the first two digits? And who would know that it would be the month, except not for any of these numbers? Or one of the moon, one of the phases of the moon would actually be the number as well, combined with this. Who would know this? The thing that tripped me up the whole time was that they put this as something relevant, and even in your mind place, even in the mind place, it says here too, dates are common passwords. Dates are common password. Dates are common passwords. All right. So dates are common passwords. So dates are relevant to the password in the game. Some dates are circled. Calendars show phases in the moon. It keeps going with regards to the phases in the moon, but phases in the moon aren't relevant towards the game at all. Blumhouse are looking forward to something in August. So August, the month of 8, was relevant. I got that. And also 17 was relevant because it kept popping up in every month, which means 17 was something he did was critical. And in fact, everything he circled and read was critical. So the whole phases of the moon thing wasn't relevant to the game at all. Why put something that's not relevant towards the game? Because it's a blind. It's purposefully there to block your train of thought. But that won't block someone's train of thought. That would just piss you off because it's not relevant to the puzzle. It's an outside factor that's put inside of something that's not needed. It's like cooking beans or something when you're supposed to fix a computer. They're not relevant. It's like, okay, let me use my screwdriver to screw this screw into the wall and say, can you hand me a pair of pliers so I can hold it together? And the person gave you a pot of beans. Like, what the fuck? You look at them like, I said a pot of beans. Yes, then that's why I gave you a pot. No, I mean, I said a pliers. A pliers? What's a pliers? Be like, get the fuck out of my face, you know? Like, well, all right. So yeah, I'm kind of whoever designed the UI and mechanics in this game. I believe it might be the same person that did the puzzles in this game as well, or the thinking aspects of this game. So I don't know. I don't think this would be a game I'm going to purchase after that shit stain ass puzzle, if you could even call it that, because puzzles are things that are relevant um, when you put them down. Like if you're putting blinds in puzzles, you're supposed to explain to your audience, well, in this game, there are blinds. There are things that are meant to blockers. There are blockers, there are capacitors, there are amplifiers, there's so on and so forth. Kind of like in Deus Ex. So you know that the enemy is going to place up certain things with regards to coding and blocking. Same as in the game. When you do something like this and you're putting tongue twisters or thinkers, you're supposed to say, well, in this game, there are puzzles, and it's for you to figure out. There can be things that are there to fool you, or there can be some things there to help you. But this game doesn't say any of that. So it just gives you a puzzle and expects you to understand that there will be blind attached and things purposefully put in the game to blind you. Now, if the company say, well, or people respond to this video and say, well, they're not there as blinds, they're not blinds, it's just the people who made it expect you to understand something because it's quite simple. It's not simple at all, not in slightest. It's not simple at all, not in the slightest. There's no relevant reason to have phases of the moon in a puzzle if said phases of the moon aren't relevant towards said puzzle. That's common sense. Anyone who says otherwise is dumb as balls. So if the intentions was to do the blind, then the blind should have been explained to begin with. And if the blind wasn't explained to begin with, then the people who made the game are expecting you to be that intelligent to understand that blinds are going to be attached to puzzles. So they're expecting a lot from the people who are playing their games. Let's say this is your first game. This is your first puzzle game, and you've never done a puzzle before. Were they even considering that factor? I bet you they weren't. Okay, so now that that's over with, I would say the game is now dropped to a 7.2. And before it's over, it might actually not even get to an 8. Fuck that all day. And the horse it rode in on. That is not a puzzle. That's someone's stupid fucking idea of what a puzzle is.
And the doors are open.
Go fuck yourself. See, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm thinking to myself, if I didn't look this up online, my now 50 minutes of streaming, which is 10 minutes of me talking about it, and probably like 30 minutes of me actually searching, would have been more than an hour of me just trying to figure out the puzzle if I didn't look it up online, which is a waste of time. And I'm pretty sure they didn't consider that either, because they don't give a fuck. So whoever was in charge of this game is not the same person that is in charge of Control. I know Sean Donnelly wasn't on for being one of the main coders, but no, this is the type of shit that would make you not want to play any Remedy games anymore. If you're gonna do something, do it the right way or don't do it at all. Please. I don't even feel like I want to play this anymore. That's how bad that puzzle was. Because it really wasn't a puzzle. It's something that you were specifically was unassociated with said puzzle. What time is it? One hour. I'm finding it very hard to even try to continue this game. Like if something as simple as that puzzle is giving me pause for me to consider playing this game and continue to even think of considering to play this game. And it's just setting me to this level that I'm thinking about, should I not continue this game? Simply because I can't believe how ignorant that is to put something that's not associated with the said puzzle at all. I think I might have to drop it 2 more points because it's really getting on my nerves now, angering me. That I think I should stop and do something more productive. Yeah. So I'm back down to 7.
Shit! Jesus Christ. I need to catch up with Tor. This must have been Tor's.
Yeah, I think it's best that I just stop. I'll give it an hour. I gotta rethink this game. I have to rethink the logic of this game, and because I've noticed this since I first started to play the game, that certain things are done ignorantly, with regards to the coding for certain actions, like the back spin don't work when your thumb is on it. Um, like when you have the flashlight on, you run faster, but when you don't have flashlight on, you run slower. Like certain puzzles make sense and logically based on the design of the game, but certain ones don't really make sense. I believe this is the first one that didn't really make sense in the long run because they had things in there that wasn't relevant. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was to create a puzzle and I wanted to make it complicated, would I put things in said puzzle that's unrelated to puzzles? Um, I may or may not, but I think I probably will not. Simply because I knew that putting things in the path of said story or said puzzle would cause confusion with regards to the people who are playing the puzzle, and it would be relevant towards them solving the puzzle. But was, if the intentions is to do that, then I would expect that the person playing it would understand fully well that that was intended to be so, so I couldn't solve the puzzle. But that's not something that's normal, that someone would know, that typical person will understand. So it would get someone frustrated, especially the average gamer. It would get them frustrated. So I think for my own sanity, I think I should stop right now. Like, whoever thought of that puzzle is really dumb. Like, super dumb. Because I spend more than an hour trying to think of creative ways to do said puzzle. Tic-tac-toe, math, astrology, because it was related towards phases of the moon, time and day, organization with regards to putting things from one place to the next. And I don't know now. I'm thinking like maybe I should just stop. This really is the type of shit that will make you not want to purchase a game or invest in a company. Like, that was very extremely dumb. Dumb puzzle. Where is it? Where's that damn puzzle? It's so dumb that I don't even feel like looking for it again. Wait, what? I didn't pick that up. Okay. Toy was here. It's here. I think I picked up everything in here. Got everything that's there. Turn back around. So I'm just going in circles. The hell? Okay, so here it is. Yeah, I think I keep coming back to this. I keep thinking it's 170823 is the code, and I'm saying to myself, I'm still thinking on it. Be like, then why include the whole phases of the moon thing if it has nothing to do with phases with the moon? Why include images towards phases of the moon? Why in Saga's palace, when you go to her mind palace, she emphasized phases of the moon here? Dates are associated with phases of the moon. Why is it phases of the moon is included within the puzzles? If, and it says for here, May, June, all this, why is it even in there if it has nothing to do with phases of the moon? If 170823 is in here, about the only thing relevant with regards to that puzzle in the code is 17. That shows up multiple times here. All the other numbers are irrelevant unless you consider the third quarter 8 being the number. But then you would have to consider every other month. But then the game says, well, don't pay attention to any other month, pay attention only to August. So that's why I had 17 and 8 within my slots. But who in the right mind would ever know that the last two numbers would be the last two numbers of said month? At no point would you ever think, okay, let me just cut off the last two numbers of the month and that will be part of the code. Not any numbers here, not the phases of the moon, not the numbers associated with the phases of the moon, not math, not astrology, not anything you're thinking about, something within that month. Who in their right mind would think, okay, maybe it's the two digits within the year, like 0 and 2, or the first two digits of that year, 2 and 0. Who would think that? Who would think that? Especially when the emphasis of the puzzle is whatever circle in said August for which the person circled it. August is relevant, and what the circle is relevant with regards to August, because said so puzzle, said so mind place. Phases of the moon associated with things circle, but phases of the moon aren't associated with things whatsoever at all. Phases of the moon has nothing to do with it whatsoever at all. Even if someone say, yeah, it does, but like, no, it doesn't. Because 17 has nothing to do with the phases of the moon. It's just present everywhere. Yeah, so I think I'll stop. I'll drop the game down to about 4 points. 4 full points. This is the type of shit that would make you want to quit a game. Like they half-assed the puzzle and they thought they were creative in doing stuff by throwing something that was unrelated towards the puzzle whatsoever at all. So yeah, I think this game got awards for things that it was hyped for, which is its action, which is its story, which is its characters, which is its style of art, and even maybe even the composition of the world itself. Like four things. Maybe the game won 4 or 5 awards, but its mechanics with regards to its combat, especially turnarounds, especially flashlight running speed, and even some organization skills, and some of the puzzles, um, they seem to be normal throughout the game, but as you're getting towards the game, they get a bit harder. But as hard as they're getting, they were all relevant until you get up to this part where whoever made the game decided to throw in something that has nothing to do with said puzzle at all. Even though they say it, the character and the game is saying it has something to do, but it really doesn't. Because if the code is 170823, 8 is the month that is in, 23 is the last two digits of the year, and the only thing relevant towards a puzzle is 17. So the phases of the month has nothing to do. Phases of a lunar cycle has nothing to do with the month, because phases of a lunar cycle is here within every year, has nothing to do with August, and the last two digits of the year has nothing to do with phases whatsoever. It's just the year that it's in. So yeah, it's the type of shit that will make you want to quit a game. So I'm done. I'm done for right now. I'm dropping the game like 4 points. Yeah, yeah. I believe before this game is over, it might not even reach the 8. I believe whoever or if anyone has this game in the mid 8s or high 8s territory, I think that person is probably a liar, and it's probably the most average of average people, and they don't look into the details. So that's it. I got better stuff to do. Fuck this game. I'm gonna come back to this and try to finish it up.